Are we truly expected to treat every person we encounter in this world as our neighbor and to love them as ourselves? The man who we just read about that fell among the robbers obviously was a Jew, and the man who acted in the role of neighbor to this Jew was a Samaritan. The Jews and the Samaritans hated each other. In fact, these groups had so much animosity towards one another, he would have rejected it just on the principle that the man was a Samaritan. Unlike the priest, unlike the Levite, unlike the Jew's fellow countrymen, it was the Samaritan who felt compassion for this Jew, a compassion that overcame the religious and the racial animosity that these two groups had for one another. Now, let's compare that with what we saw earlier back in Luke 10, verses 10 through 12. So when the 70 are sent out on their mission, they were taught that if people reject you, if they reject your message, I want you to wipe the dust off your feet as an example against them, and then warn them that by their own choice to reject the kingdom, they're rendering themselves liable to God for judgment. The 70 didn't take the view that foundational differences in religious belief is okay so long as we just love each other. No, they taught that rejection of Christ in the kingdom had eternal consequences. So suppose one of us, as Christians, came across someone who fundamentally disagreed with and rejected the gospel. Let's say maybe we came across someone who even persecuted Christians because they accepted Jesus in the kingdom. Well, what would we do? We're expected to overcome all resentment, all animosity towards that person and act in the role of neighbor towards our enemies. As a Christian, your compassion has no boundaries. It should extend to all people of the world, whether friend or foe. All the way back in Genesis, back in the garden, mankind rebelled against God. Yet, despite all of this, God chose to come where we were. He took on human flesh, despite the fact that man would beat him, despite the fact that man would reject him and ultimately hang him on a cross to die. You see, God rescued us at his own expense. He paid the price so that we might have a chance at redemption, that we might have an opportunity to be reconciled to God and might have a chance to partake in the kingdom. Not only did he practice it, but Jesus set the benchmark for what it means to truly love somebody else, to truly treat somebody else as a neighbor, to the point that he was willing to die for the people that rejected him, that he was willing to die for the people that would spit in his face just so they might have a chance to be reconciled to God.